Greetings, YouTube. Today we're going to take a look at the doom that came to Gotham. Now, I picked this up on the recommendation of Panda Red. He's a guy that's made a name for himself on TikTok. He's also on YouTube. And Panda Red is with two Ds. And a very entertaining guy. He does a lot of skits about DC, mostly DC, but sometimes Marvel, where he plays all the different characters, particularly the Bat family. He does a lot of work on the Bat family. Um, and Bill the Goon is a great character he does. But he also does deep dives into comics history and into comics philosophy and the writing behind it, and into the deep dives into specific volumes. He just started a new series where he is reading an entire book and then going very deep into that one particular story. Unlike some of those videos run like 45-50 minutes. So he's very knowledgeable about comic books. His family used to own a comic store at one time, so he grew up in this world, and now he is not only a TikTok star but a YouTuber. He's a cosplayer. Guy knows his comics. So when he recommended this film as being very good, he's like, "Why did people sit on this? Why did no one tell me about this?" Because he hadn't known about it. I decided when I saw it at the store today, I'm like, they wanted 15 bucks for Blu-ray. It's got audio commentary. Okay, I can do that. That's not a problem. Um, this is based on an Elseworld story written by Mike Mignola, sorry. And it shouldn't come as no surprise if Mike Mignola is involved in something that it's going to have Cthulhu-like elements. They don't call it Lovecraftian Cthulhu. They're not using specific names of, Lovecraftian mythos creatures. In fact, the big bad, the cult in this is called the Cult of Ghoul, based on Ra's al Ghul, from the character from the history of uh, Batman. So this is connecting to the Batman universe. And this is set in an earlier time period. It was 1908 when uh, his parents were killed, and he spent the next 20 years traveling the world, training, and now he's ready to come home after he's discovered that there is something very evil that is on its way, or maybe even already in Gotham. This is a really wonderful take on a number of characters that have been in the uh, Batman universe for decades. A great take on Mr. Freeze. A great take on the Penguin, on Killer Croc, on Poison Ivy. Just Harvey Dent, Two-Face. There's just a twist here and there, and they make them very different characters, and yet thematically we recognize them, and what their range of abilities and such are. A nice take on the Oracle, um, and this is very much set in that 1920s, just before the crash, Lovecraftian world. That like At the Mountains of Madness is a major inspiration for this. I'm trying not to spoil this because it's a really good story. It's really worth your time if you're a Batman fan or if you're a Lovecraft fan. In either case, this is something you would enjoy. But if you are a Batman fan, I want you to know that this is quite possibly the darkest Batman story I have ever seen. It's PG-13. It's not R-rated. And the gore, for the most part, that you see is, monster related, something like that kind of thing. So it's not realistic, but some of it is genuinely disturbing. And what happens to the people in this world is not cheery. There's no other way I can put that. This is a dark story. It's a very good story. And if you like the Elseworld books, and I happen to be a fan of those comics, or when I was reading comics, I haven't read comics in a while. I love the idea of Elseworld. I think the Elseworld did a much better job than like Marvel's What If. The What Ifs were more like, what if these were the characters that belonged in the Avengers or the X-Men? Yeah, they were very comic-y. The Elseworld were deeper world building, and I really appreciate that deep world building. Um, So, if you like Lovecraft, if you like Batman, if you like a good story, and you are willing to accept that it's going to be a dark Batman storyline, this is a film that I highly recommend. I was looking at the ratings on IMDb because I always like to look at the trivia on films I'm watching or TV shows I'm watching. It always amazes me when I find things that have no commentary on them. I'm like, geez, this has been around forever and this is a decent property. Why the heck is no commenting on it? But there were some comments on this. Some of the ratings were abysmally low. There were some people giving this things like 5s and 6s. I'm like, did you watch the same movie I watched? The pacing is slower than a lot of Batman stories. I'll give them that. But it's a Lovecraftian story. Those are not Marvel MCU superhero stories. They have a different pacing. You go in expecting, X-Men or expecting the Avengers, yeah, you are going to be disappointed. Even if you're going in there expecting like Batman, the animated series, which is one of the greatest series of animated adventures that ever, put on the screen, you're going to be disappointed. But if you go in there with the knowledge that this is a dark story in the Lovecraftian vein, and you're willing to let it unfold, yeah, this is this is awesome. I thoroughly and completely enjoyed this, and I recommend it to anyone that's a fan of Lovecraft or Batman.